Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Denver Water Lead Reduction Program virtual community meeting. Before we get started, I want to invite our interpreter, Nicholas, on the line to invite any of our Spanish-speaking participants over to the Spanish event. Nicholas?
Buenas noches a todos y todas. Si quieren escuchar esta reunión en español, por favor asegúrense de si están en su teléfono, marcar asterisco cero o si están en la pantalla en la parte superior derecha. Muchas gracias.
Great. Thanks, Nicholas. Hi again, good evening. My name is Rachel DeFebo. I'm with the Denver Water Lead Reduction Program team and will be facilitating the meeting tonight. We're excited to have you to share information about the lead reduction program and dive into really how filters and filtering water fit into the program. We'll be sharing some tips and tricks with you to get the most out of your water filter if you are in the program. So our agenda for tonight, we'll start with a high-level overview of the full lead reduction program, so all of its various elements. Then we'll dive more into an overview of how filters fit into the program and how to be properly using filtered water for drinking, cooking, and making infant formula if you are in the program. And then we'll spend a little more time focusing on cooking with filtered water, since we know that is one of the bigger asks that we have of our customers who are in the lead reduction program. And you'll see we have a few Q&A question and answer sessions planned. We do want to make sure we can take plenty of your questions and hear from you tonight as well. So we're looking forward to sharing some information and hearing from you too. So just a few kind of meeting guidelines to set the flow. For tonight, we will have a couple poll questions that will come up during the meeting. We really encourage you to participate in those. It's another way for us to hear from you. So please be on the lookout for those. You can participate whether you're joining us on the phone or online. We'll also, again, be wanting to hear any questions that you might have. At any point, you can get a question in the queue for those Q&A sessions. If you're joining us online, you can put your question in the comment box. If you're joining us on the phone, you can press *3, and that will get you in the question queue. You'll still be able to follow along with the meeting just fine. And again, tonight we are really focused on filters and how filtering water fits in with the lead reduction program. We know there are a lot of pieces to the program, and you may have questions about other aspects of the program, such as the lead service line replacements, the construction work. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that tonight, but we really, again, do want to focus on filters. We've done other community meetings like this one focused on other topics like construction. All the recordings of those meetings, as well as other videos, tip sheets, fact sheets, resources, are available at denverwater.org/lead. We'll be repeating that website throughout the meeting. So if you do want to check out some more information outside of filters or anything more in the lead reduction program, would really encourage you to go to denverwater.org/lead. And then I do have a couple other people here with me tonight, Jose Salas and Aria Alvarado, who are both on the Denver Water team. They're here tonight to share that information with us about the program and filters, answer questions, and really be our experts for the night. So we're lucky to have them with us. So with that, we'll just jump right into it with our first poll question. So again, really encourage you to participate in this. And our question for you, this assumes you are in the lead reduction program. How are you using your pitcher filter, other water filter, or bottled water? You'd press 1 for all drinking and cooking. You're using filtered water for all drinking and cooking. You'd press 2 for some drinking and cooking, 3 for drinking only, or 4 for you're not using filtered water. So again, we'd really like to hear from you how you're using your pitcher filter, other water filter, bottled water, how you're using filtered water. Press 1 for you're using it for all drinking and cooking. 2, you're using filtered water for some drinking and cooking. 3, you're using filtered water only for drinking, or press 4 for you're not using filtered water. So I see we do have some responses coming in, and we have almost 800 community members on the line with us right now, so a good group of people. It looks like most folks are saying that they are using their water filter for all drinking and cooking, which is great. And then we do have another sizable amount saying they're using filtered water for some drinking and cooking or for drinking only. So again, we do want to spend a little more time later in the meeting on cooking in particular, since we know that is a challenge for our customers who are in the program. So we'll be spending some more time on that tonight. And with that, we'll just move on to a brief overview of the full lead reduction program. So before we dive into all the aspects of using filtered water as part of the program, do just want to share a brief overview video with you that describes the full lead reduction program. If you're joining us on the phone, fear not, the video is well narrated, so you should be able to follow along just fine. If you do want to check out the video outside of this meeting, it is on our website, denverwater.org/lead, as is all the other information we're going to share with you tonight. So with that, let's watch the video.
Taking action to help protect current and future generations from lead in drinking water. It's why Denver Water launched its new lead reduction program in 2020. While the water sent to customers is lead-free, lead can get into water if it passes through service lines that are made of lead. This is important because lead in water can have significant health impacts, especially for pregnant women, infants, and young children. Service lines are the pipes that connect Denver Water's water mains in the street to homes and businesses. Customers own the service lines, Denver Water owns the water mains. As part of the lead reduction program, Denver Water has an estimated 64,000 to 84,000 properties in its service area that have lead service lines. The utility plans to replace these lines with new, lead-free copper pipes at no direct cost to the customer. Most of the properties are homes built before 1951. Pipe replacement will take place on a neighborhood-by-neighborhood basis starting in 2020. It will take 15 years to replace all the lines. Priority will be given to areas with a large number of facilities that serve infants and children, areas with high concentrations of lead service lines, and underserved neighborhoods. Reducing the risk of lead in water at home is another important part of the lead reduction program. That's why Denver Water is sending customers a free pitcher and water filters. The filters are certified to remove lead and should be used for drinking, cooking, and making infant formula or other beverages. While the primary source of lead in drinking water comes from lead service lines in the ground, lead can also get into water through household plumbing that contains lead. This includes faucets and fittings made before 2014, as well as solder that was used to connect copper pipes before 1987. To help protect all customers from these sources of lead in drinking water, Denver Water is increasing the pH level of the water it delivers to its service area. This higher pH will strengthen an existing protective coating inside pipes and plumbing, which reduces the likelihood of lead getting into water. This change will not impact the taste and odor of the water. This comprehensive program was approved by the Environmental Protection Agency as well as the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. You can learn more about the lead reduction program at denverwater.org/lead or call 303-893-2444.
Great, thanks. We'll give our Spanish meeting just a couple seconds to catch up with the video so that we can be all synced up. And then we'll dive into a little bit more about some of the questions we're seeing about service line replacements and how you can tell if you're in the program. All right, so with that, now that we've gotten an overview of the program, we do just want to take another minute or two to hear a little bit about how you can tell if you are in the lead reduction program, if you have a question about that, and then also a little bit about the lead service line replacement process. I do see we have a couple questions about that coming in. So I'm wondering, Aria, if you can share a little bit about that with us.
Sure, absolutely. So first we want people to know the area that we cover. And We can go to the next slide, please. Perfect. If you look at the map here, we do service inside the city of Denver, which is indicated there in blue. And then some of the suburbs and the outside areas there are indicated in the green. So we do cover areas such as Wheat Ridge, Littleton, Lakewood. However, we do not cover Aurora or Inglewood. Now, as far as determining if you are actually a part of the lead reduction program, if you're unsure, we have a wonderful tool that you can use. And if you go to denverwater.org/lead, there is a map essentially that you can click on where you are able to search by your specific address, and it will tell you how likely it is for you to have a lead service line or not. So wonderful tool. Again, denverwater.org/lead. And there's a box there that says, do I have a lead service line? Now, with that said, Denver Water does have an estimated 64 to 84,000 customer-owned lead service lines. And the range is kind of variable there because we don't actually own the service lines. Those are owned by the property owner. Therefore, the records that we have are a little bit scattered and inconsistent. So through the lead reduction program, we're able to replace about 5,000 lead service lines a year at no direct charge to the property owner. And we're thinking that this program will take about 15 years to get completed. So the annual work planning, when we're scheduling these areas that we're going to be replacing lead service lines in, is focusing on underserved communities and those most vulnerable from lead exposure. So think about areas with a lot of childcare facilities, schools, things of that nature. And we're also going to factor in other planned construction activities. So other projects that may be taking place, recent paving that either happened or will be coming up. Those are also things that we when we're scheduling our work. So we are looking at opportunities to speed the replacement process more. We've applied for federal funding, and so hopefully we can cut that 15-year period down a little bit. But as far as trying to figure out when we're going to be doing your lead service line replacement, that's the number one question that folks have. The best way to determine that is going to be to go to denverwater.org/pipes, and you can look on a map there that's going to show you the work areas for our lead reduction program. Now, those work areas are introduced in the fall of every year, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But if you're not seeing yourself or your location on that map as of right now, then check back in a couple of months and we'll have the work areas for 2023 there. Now, before we do come to your area, you also receive a packet in the mail that's going to tell you sort of what to expect and let you know that the process is about to get started.
Great, thanks, Aria. So with that, before we dive again more into filters, just want to take a few minutes to answer some questions about the overall program, since we do see a few of those coming in. So Aria, I've got a few questions for you lined up. The first one, it looks like we have a couple folks online asking, it sounds like they've already been on our map that you just talked about on our website to look up their address, and they're seeing that their house might not be confirmed to have a lead service line for sure, or not. They're saying they have a likely or unlikely status to have a lead service line. So can you talk about what that means and what happens if that's someone's status that they see pop up on the map?
Sure, absolutely. And I'd like to apologize. I have some dogs in the background that are barking, so you might hear that. But yes, there's a couple different statuses you might see on that map indicating how likely you are or not to have a lead service line. And some of them can be a little bit confusing. They're not, not for sure. So if you are listed as unlikely to have a lead service line, then we're going to need to do some additional investigation to confirm that. So we do water quality testing is one way that we can look at that. We also do visual inspections of where the service line enters the property. And then we also do a method called potholing, which is a hole about the size of a dinner plate, like a saucer. And we'll actually do that in 4 or 5 places over the service line so that we can determine the material that's in the ground. Now we'll take a look at all those different factors and determine if we think you need to be replaced or not. But again, that will all happen as we get closer to working in your area. So that should help a little bit. We're not sure. We're gonna confirm before we remove you from the program there.
That's great information, Aria. And then We've got another question from someone joining us online. Rosemary is wondering, sounds like she's in the program and letting water run before using tap water. So sounds like letting the faucet run for a couple minutes before using any of that tap water, and wondering if that's enough. So is that enough, or how does that fit in with filter use and sort of some of the things we'll be talking about tonight?
Sure. So basically, what you're doing, Rosemary, is you're flushing your pipes, which is great. That's something that we actually encourage. Now, the majority of lead from a service line will remain in that stagnant water. So if it's been sitting there overnight, or if you've gone to work and then you come back, we definitely encourage folks to flush their lines so that we can get that stagnant water out of there. That said, if you are suspected to have a lead service line, it's still extremely important to filter your water. Whether there are children in the house or not, we encourage everybody. No level of lead is safe, so we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep ourselves protected. So again, until that lead service line is either confirmed that it's not lead or it's replaced, it's really important that you continue to filter your water. But don't stop flushing, because that's also great and very helpful.
Thanks, Aria. I think we have time for at least one more question before we move on. And I'm imagining this is a question a lot of people have. We get this question all the time. But we do have Beverly online here asking, really how will she know, anyone will know when their house is coming up for replacement? When will that happen? So I know you talked a little bit about that before in our annual planning process, but maybe just kind of reiterate that and give a little more detail about how we plan year to year for the service line replacement schedule and where people can go to kind of stay up to date with the latest information.
Sure. So again, we're factoring in a lot of different things when we're looking at the areas we're going to be working in. So one of the main components is going to be underserved communities, or those with a higher risk of lead exposure. So maybe there's more lead lines in the area, and also again, children, infants. We want to make sure that we're looking at those areas with that larger population of younger folks, so that we can take care of them. Now, when we're doing that, we're also looking at different things happening in the community, other construction projects, whether it's another utility or contractor doing some type of work there, as well as paving. Paving is a really big driver of our schedule. So when a road is freshly paved, it's on a 3-year moratorium, which means no construction is allowed to take place unless it's an emergency. So we'll sometimes have to wait for that moratorium to end, or we know that paving is going to be happening soon, and we depending on the timing, we try to get it in before. We have to wait until after. Now, as far as the aspect of when, where can I find out when my line is getting replaced? Again, the website, which is denverwater.org/pipes, we have a map on there that will show you where we're going to be working in any given year. And that will be updated usually in the fall. So probably October, November, we'll be able to release that 2023 map with the work areas we'll be going in next year. The other thing to look at on that map is we also replace our service lines when we're doing water main replacements. So we will go into neighborhoods to replace the water mains because they've had leaks, or the soil is corrosive, or for various other reasons. And if we run across lead service lines during those projects, we will replace them as well. So sort of a similar timing, those work areas will be released toward the later part of the year. So continue to check that map, denverwater.org/pipes, and see if your property is in one of our upcoming work areas.
Great, thanks, Aria. And we did get just a couple more questions that came in that I want to take before we move on. Just kind of going off of what you've already been talking about, if you could just quickly explain how Inglewood fits into our service area, and including unincorporated Inglewood. We've got a question from Jan online just wanting to confirm how that area of Inglewood fits into the program.
So if we're talking about the city of Inglewood, which is sort of in the middle, there's a little hole in our service area. I don't know if we can go back to that slide with our map. The city of Inglewood is a separate system. Inglewood provides their own water. As far as the unincorporated, kind of in the southern Centennial part. We do service parts of that area in the green. So if you see the map online, there's kind of a little white hole in the middle. That's the city of Inglewood, and we do not service that area. But any parts that are there in the kind of Centennial Greenwood Village side of town, we do service some of that location in Inglewood.
Great. Thanks, Aria. I think that's really helpful just to, again, make sure people can understand how this program fits in with their location. One more question before we move on, just going back to some people wondering if they're in the program or not, how they fit in with their neighborhood. So we've got a question from Frederick online, just kind of explaining that he's been getting information, kind of outlining that his property's in the program, getting notices about having a lead service line, but the neighbors surrounding homes aren't getting those same notices. So if you could maybe explain why a situation like that might happen, where there might be one home in an area that's in the program and most or all of the surrounding homes are not.
Sure. So we look at a couple factors when we're determining properties if we think that they're going to be in the program or not. Now, one of the things that we look at is the age of the home. So anything 1950 and older or after 1950 before 1950, I misspoke, before 1950, that is going to be, higher likelihood of lead. Now, again, we don't own the service lines or the records, so it's possible that redevelopment has happened, or maybe there was a leak on the property before, and sometimes we have records on that and sometimes we don't. So those will factor into our determination, as well as the water quality testing. So there's a lot of analysis that's happening on the background with the data that we do have. And again, if we are unsure, we will have to do some of that investigation in the field. So depending on your neighborhood and when the homes were built, some of them might be newer and they don't necessarily fall into the program. And maybe yours was one of the first homes there. And so it's a little bit older. And again, it's just really dependent on the property and what our records are showing.
Great. Thanks, Aria. So again, we did just want to take a few minutes to go over those questions about the service line replacements and the full program. And so now that we've gotten some great information on that, we do want to dive more into filters. So before I turn it over to Jose, just a quick reminder, if you do have a question, you can press *3 if you're on the phone, or put a question in the comment box online. And so now I'll turn it over to Jose to tell us more about how water filters fit into the program and how to properly be using the water filter.
All right, thank you, Rachel. I was just thanking you, and I'm thanking you again, and everyone for being here tonight. Like everyone, like we saw in the video, the filters and the pictures are a really, really integral part of the lead reduction program, because what they do is they reduce the risk of lead getting mixed with your drinking water. So it is really, really important that you replace these filters inside the pitcher approximately every 6 months, from the date you install it. And that's all going to be according to how much use you have, how many people live in your home. So it is important to use that filtered water up until 6 months after your line is replaced. And so since 2020, which is when the lead reduction program began, Denver Water has provided or delivered more than 550,000 water filters free to our customers to date. And so you can probably see the box over here to my left. That is the box that is being shipped, and it's the same as the one in the graphic right there on the screen. And then the picture itself, it'll look something like this, where the filter goes on the top, and then there's an indicator light right here that will also show the status of that filter as well. So if you can go to the next slide, please. It's really important that you use your filter and your pitcher for really three main areas, right? One is drinking, whether that's coffee, tea, or just drinking water, for cooking, and then for preparing infant formula as well. And it's even more important to cook when you're cooking foods that absorb water. For example, rice, beans, pasta. If you do like pasta like I do, you may think that boiling water may do the job, and that'll be sufficient. Unfortunately, that is not. So boiling water does not remove lead, and that's why it's important to use filtered water from the pitcher that we have provided. So again, continue to use the filtered water from the pitcher up to 6 months after your service line is replaced, and use it for cooking, drinking, and preparing infant formula. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over now to Aria to talk about what you can do, what steps you can take if you have a missing filter or a broken filter.
Thanks, Jose. So we know things happen, things get lost in the mail, things get lost at home, things break. So if you need a replacement filter or a pitcher, let us know. We do have an online form now, so you can go to denverwater.org/filter, and we can fulfill that request via your online submittal. You can also call us at 303-893-2444. Or you can email us at lead@denverwater.org. I do see some questions in the chat coming in about the the replacement light coming on soon and you don't have a filter yet. So if that's the case, again, use one of these options, denverwater.org/filter, call us, email us, and we will get you that replacement. Now, filters are automatically sent to properties in the program. Typically every 6 months is what the average filter life is. So look at for about every 6 months, you'll get new filters. But there is a gap specifically with rental properties because we don't always know when somebody is moving in or out of the property. So that said, new residents can get a filter and a pitcher to use by giving us a call, shooting us an email, or visiting us online. And landlords can let us know, or tenants, either of you can let us know when folks are moving in or out so that we can get everybody what they need. Now, as far as distributing the pitchers and filters, we wanted to see how they're being used. We distribute 15,000 to 20,000 surveys each year to hear from customers about their filter use. So on here you can see in our most recent survey, we learned from about 1,500 customers and 94% are using their filter to prepare infant formula. So that's wonderful. 93% are using their filter for drinking, also wonderful, and 73% were using their filter for cooking. So we're really glad to see that customers are using the filtered water, but we do want to get that 73% up as far as filtering your water for cooking. You'll kind of hear us repeat this throughout the evening, but it is critical to use your water pitcher and filter not only for drinking or preparing infant formula, but also for cooking, especially foods that absorb a lot of water. So rice, beans, soup, pasta, those kinds of things. And in addition to that, it's really important to filter your water if you're making coffee or tea. So we just want to really emphasize that. And now we're going to ask you a question.
All right. So we have come to our second poll question, which I think is getting loaded up right as we speak. So we'll give it just a couple seconds so that we can all put in our answers. But while that's loading up, everybody can just be thinking about, now that you've heard about how you should be using filtered water really for not just drinking, but also making infant formula and for cooking. We just wanted to hear more from you about what might be some of the barriers to using filtered water for cooking, since we have seen through the survey that Aria just talked about that is the more challenging area for our customers. So we do have the poll ready to go. So our question for you is, what is the greatest barrier to using filtered water when cooking? So you'd press 1 for not having enough filtered water on hand. Press 2 for water takes longer to heat for cooking. Press 3 for water takes too long to be filtered. Press 4 for hard to remember, not a part of my normal routine. So again, we're wondering, what is the greatest barrier from your perspective to using filtered water when cooking? So you'd press 1 for the biggest challenge is not having enough filtered water on hand, the volume of water that you need for cooking. Press 2 for water takes longer to heat when cooking, maybe when you're bringing that water from the fridge over to the stove. Press 3 for water takes too long to be filtered. Time factor, you don't have time to filter the volume of water you would need. Or press 4 for it's just too hard to remember. It's not part of your normal routine to be using filtered water for cooking. And so again, if you did answer our first poll question where we asked how you're using filtered water and you responded that you aren't necessarily using filtered water for cooking all or some of the time, we'd really love to hear from you on this question as well. I see some responses coming in, so I'll just repeat the question one more time. I want to hear from you. What is the greatest barrier to using filtered water when cooking? 1, not having enough filtered water on hand. 2, water takes longer to heat for cooking. 3, water takes too long to be filtered. Or 4, it's too hard to remember, not a part of my normal routine. So what we're seeing come in so far is not surprising. It's what we've seen in other meetings and what we've heard from customers throughout the program, that the biggest challenge to using filtered water for cooking is not having enough filtered water on hand. That's by far the biggest answer option we're seeing get selected, but we do see other folks saying it's a time factor, it just takes too long. Others saying it's just hard to remember. So again, I do think we have some tips and tricks we'll get into in a second to help address and maybe get around some of those barriers. But we do, before we jump into that, want to go to our next Q&A session, take some of your questions now that you've heard some more about the filter program and weighed in on the cooking aspect. So we'll take just a couple questions here. And our first one, we've got Susan online who's asking if they can get more than one pitcher. And so the answer to this is yes, of course. And if we go back a couple slides, I think to slide 13, and we can just leave that up for a few minutes here while we do the Q&A. This has the information about how you can request a replacement or additional filter if you need it. So we have sent one filter to every property in the program. If you need a replacement because your filter is broken or missing, because you are going through a larger volume of water and that indicator light has come on that we'll talk about and you need a replacement, there are several ways you can reach out to us to let us know. You can go to denverwater.org/filter. That will take you straight to a form you can fill out to get a replacement. You can call us at 303-893-2444 or email us at lead@denverwater.org. So again, a few ways there to request a free replacement if you need it. We want to make sure all of our customers have what they need to protect themselves. And if you need a replacement filter, please let us know right away. And then I think we got a couple more questions here that I'm looking up. So we've got a question I'll give over to you, Aria, an online question from Donald, who's saying the filter setup says to pour out the first 3 pitchers, 1 dispenser of water, and what does that mean? So maybe could you just talk a little bit about how to set up the filter properly. I think maybe Jose talked a little bit about that, but just kind of overview once you get that filter and that pitcher in hand, how you want to properly set it up and know that it's good to go to be using filtered water.
Yeah, so I wish I had one here. Jose's usually our Vanna White, but you definitely want to follow the directions that are included with it. Now, it does tell you to flush that water out a couple times to just kind of prime that filter and make sure that it's working properly. I do see in here there's a concern about, just dumping that water. So we always suggest that folks can use that to water their plants. It's, a good way to use that water. And then, make sure that you're following those directions, following the indicator light. If it's telling you it needs to be replaced, let's get it replaced. But it's pretty self-explanatory. It'll just drop right in. Again, I I can't show you. Maybe Jose can do that. And I see another comment on here. It looks like Donald, as far as the water being, nothing wrong with the water. And well, Denver Water's water is very delicious, and there is no lead in the water that we provide. It will leach through pipes and specifically customer owned service lines. So even though it may taste fine, if you are enrolled in the lead reduction program, there is still a risk there of the lead exposure. And so we want to make sure that we are addressing that for you.
Great. Thanks, Aria. And just a reminder, if you are joining us over the phone and would like to instead join online, if you go to denverwater.org/lead and scroll down, you'll see some tiles on the screen, and you press on community partners and events. It'll take you to a page with a link where you can join the meeting online too, if you'd like to do that as well. And again, we'll have the recording of this meeting up on the website within the next couple days, so you can reference everything that way as well. Just a few more questions here. I want to come to you, Jose, to answer some online questions we're getting about if the water is safe for brushing your teeth, taking a bath or a shower. If you could address those two things in particular, brushing teeth and showering, taking a bath, and if the water is safe for that.
Yeah, thank you. The basic answer is yes, it is safe because our skin does not absorb water as when you drink it. I mean, the lead or the water doesn't go into your body, so it is safe to continue brushing your teeth, taking a bath, showering. And if you have any additional concerns about lead and your health, I would definitely encourage you to reach out to your primary care physician and get some of those questions answered.
Thanks, Jose. One or two more questions before we move on. We've got another question coming through online from someone who missed the first few minutes of the event. And I'm sure others have this question as well. But just going back real quick to if you are in the program and have a lead service line and would like to pay for the line replacement yourself before Denver Water comes your way, if there's any reimbursement options for that or financial help. So just real quickly to answer that, the answer is yes. We do have a partial reimbursement program available that you can get more information on at denverwater.org/lead. You want to check out some of the information on there to make sure you qualify. For instance, we can't be planning to come to your home that year to do the replacement. So there are a couple stipulations and you'll want to get pre-approved, but we do offer that partial reimbursement if you do want to go ahead and take care of the replacement before we come your way. And then I think we'll go ahead and keep things moving and leave plenty of time at the end for some more questions before we log off. But I do know that we're continuing to get some questions about filters, and we did want to spend a little bit more time on cooking with filtered water since we know that's a challenge, and maybe as part of this can continue to talk about how to properly use that filter. So I'm just wondering, Jose, if you can start to tell us a little bit about how you make it easier in your life to use filtered water for cooking and some tips and tricks that you might have for our customers.
Definitely. So yeah, first things first, I unmuted myself, so I'm good to go. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I love pasta. That's one of my favorite foods. But now that fall is here, we're gonna be cooking a lot of soups here at home. But it's also season for lots of coffees and teas. So we got to make sure that we have plenty of water around. We also have we're a family of five and a lot of drinking water. So I will be sharing some steps that I take here at home that may be useful for you also for planning ahead. And so, some of the other foods that we make here at home, especially this time of year. And as we go into the winter, chicken soup. If you don't know, pozole, it's a Mexican dish, of course, rice, beans, menudo, you might have heard of that as well. So, and it's about changing habits, right? It's going to be little things that are going to help you long term, but really important that even through all your cooking to remember that boiling does not remove lead. So now I'll share some of those tips that I use here at home to be able to prepare ahead and have the water that I need. We can go to the next slide, please. All right, so I've sort of taken the pitcher apart, so just bear with me. But the top of the pitcher has your indicator line, your indicator light, and inside of that container, where am I? There's the camera. Oops. There's a max fill line. So the first key thing is to not fill the water past that fill line. And so you may be thinking, I'm gonna do add more water. It'll make it go faster. It'll do more water at a time. Unfortunately, you're actually doing harm by doing this because you could be mixing unfiltered water with the filtered water that is going through the filter. And so the filter itself, I know it looks kind of funky probably right now, but this is sort of what the top looks like. And the filter goes in there. There we go. Now I'm on the big screen. Now I took it all apart. A little bit of a show and tell. Anyway, it sort of kind of goes like that, right? So the filter goes inside of that part, and so yeah, it's important that again you do not fill the water past the max fill line. One of the things that I tell my kids, because we play a lot of board games here, is kind of like Monopoly, do not pass go. Is the same thing with that. So it can be very tempting. Again, trying to get ahead and you think you're doing the right thing by adding more water, but it puts you and your family at risk as well. Now, at the very top, I mentioned there's an indicator light. When you first use your filter, you're supposed to press that button to get things started, to get the filter on that timer. And depending on how many people are in your house, you may need a filter faster than the 6 months that I recommended. And so it is really important that once that light comes on, you replace that filter as quickly as you can, so that you minimize that risk as well. And sorry, I'm going back to the filter and I'm reading what it says. Um, Yep. So that's on the filter use, right? That light comes on, you need to replace it. Again, if you need one sooner, you can always reach out through the information that Rachel shared earlier, and Denver Water will send you another filter completely free at no direct cost to you. So now that you know how to use that filter and you are not filling it above the max fill line, one of the other things that I do for planning ahead is filtering that water and then adding that filtered water to another container or another pitcher, right? So now I have multiple containers of filtered water going on, are taking place in my fridge as well. Now, again, it's about changing habit, and I know it may be a bit of an inconvenience, but this is for us to make sure that we are keeping our family safe as well. A key component of storing water is to make sure that you put that water in a cool, dry, dark place. And the reason for this is to prevent mold or bacteria growth as well. All right, and I'm not sure. Do we go to the next slide? No, I think this is the last one, right? So, speaking of filters, I'm gonna turn it over to Aria now to talk about refrigerator filters.
Thanks, Jose. So, a common question that we see and we hear regularly is specific to the filter and refrigerator, ice, sinks, undermount attached to the faucet. And, why did we select the pitcher and filter? And just for some background, when we were, going through this program and assessing how we can be most effective, the pitcher and filter is the most universal option. Obviously, everybody has a different refrigerator, a different sink, so it didn't make a lot of sense to try and accommodate all of those different fixtures. The pitcher and filter is again the most universal, and so that's what we've moved forward with. That said, it's not always the most convenient. So you do have the option to look at a refrigerator filter or a sink filter. And as far as the one that you may have already installed, the answer to, is that removing lead? Well, we don't really know, maybe. So the way that you can determine that is by pulling that filter out and looking on there for a certification of NSF Standard 53. Again, that's NSF Standard 53. So filters certified to this standard are tested by the NSF to ensure that they remove lead. And the pitcher and filters that we distribute are certified to NSF 53. So you want to remove the filter in your fridge or under your sink, and you can actually check to see if that label is on there. Look for the NSF seal and the number 53. If you are watching this recording or watching this video, you can actually see an example of that there on the slide. So again, just NSF 53, whether that's under kitchen, under your kitchen sink, in your refrigerator, attached to your kitchen sink, whatever it may be. That's the one to remember. So now that we've addressed the fridge filters and other filter options, I'll turn it back over to Rachel so we can take a few more of your questions.
Great. Thanks, Aria, and thanks, Jose, for going through that. So we do want to take some more questions. We have a few good minutes left before we wrap up, so I want to make sure we can hear from some more of you. So we'll start. I'm going to come, Aria, to you with this question, and it looks like we've got someone on the phone that we'll bring on here. It looks like Wheezy has a question about, it's right on cue, it's a question about the ice maker and using filtered water for the ice maker they've got in their fridge. So Wheezy, are you on the line and can you hear us? Wheezy, are you there?
Yes, I'm on.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, please go ahead and ask us your question.
Well, I replace my filter on my refrigerator every time it lets me know, and that's about every 6 months. And then it occurred to me, I don't know if it takes out the lead or not, but it sounds like you possibly just answered that question, that I can pull that out and see if it has that NFF 53 on it. And if it does, I assume it does. If not, I can maybe check with the manufacturer and try to get one.
You just answered your own question.
That's great. Thanks, Wheezy. But yeah, Ari, is there anything you'd add to that? Just maybe reiterate that that certification name that Wheezy just reiterated so well, just to remind everybody of what that is.
Yep. Again, so it's N as in Nancy, S as in Sam, F as in Frank, 53. And you want to look for that on any type of filter that you'll be using. So refrigerator, sink, all of those, NSF 53. And that is certified to remove lead. And you can always, like Wheezy said, contact the manufacturer if you want to go to, Home Depot or any places like that and look for the different filters. I'm sure they can help you there as well.
Great. Thanks, Aria. Jose, I'm going to come to you with this next question. We're still getting some questions online, and I think it's really important to reiterate if folks need an additional pitcher, a replacement filter, how they can do that. So do you mind kind of sharing back the couple ways that people can contact us?
Yeah, and I think you said it was slide 13, if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken. Yeah. I think it would be really, really helpful. We could put that back on the screen. There we go. So there are really three main ways that if you either have a broken pitcher and filter, or you need an additional one or a replacement, whatever the case may be, or if you need to, your filter is now expired or past its use life. These are the ways that you can get in touch with Denver Water. You can see is denverwater.org/filter. You can call our customer care team at 303-893-2444. Or if you're more of an email person, you can send an email to lead@denverwater.org.
Great. Thanks, Jose. And we'll go with Aria for this next question. We're still getting a few about not just filters, but some other pieces of the program. So I want to make sure, since we have some time, that we can answer those as well. So Aria, I'll come to you with a question from Diana, who's online, saying, I believe I replaced the main line to my house decades ago, but can't find the receipt or the proof of that. So how can anybody have that checked? Think that maybe the replacement has already happened at some point in the past, but don't know for sure, can't find maybe paper proof of that. What would their next step be, or where could they go to have that checked out?
Yeah, so that's a, comment that we hear a lot, where maybe somebody had a leak a while ago, or the previous owner indicated that the service line had been replaced. And again, people lose things, receipts, so totally understandable. The other thing that we see with that is people aren't always sure if this the service line was replaced all the way out to the street. So I just want to emphasize that when we are replacing these lead service lines as part of the program, we're going to replace them all the way from the water main in the street to the into the home, to your main shutoff valve in your home. So that full service line will be replaced. And if you're not sure if the full thing was replaced previously, we'll take care of the rest for you. Now, to answer your actual question, what can we do to find out? Until you're actually in an active work area, the best thing you can do right now is you can request a water quality test kit through I believe you could do that through our website. Rachel, I'll ask you for that link because off the top of my head, I can't remember it. But you can also call customer care at 303-893-2444, and they can send you out a water quality test kit. And then once we are actually working in your area replacing lead service lines, we can do some more of an investigation to help determine if that was replaced. So I previously mentioned coming into the home and looking at where that service line is entering the property so we can determine what the material is coming in, and then also doing some of those visual inspections with potholing and actually looking at different areas of the service line to determine what that material is made of.
Yeah, thanks, Aria. And I'm just building off of what Aria said. If you would like to request one of those water test kits, you can go to denverwater.org/lead. You'll scroll down a little bit and you'll see some blue and green tiles. And there's a blue tile that says testing your water for lead. And you can click on that and there will be a clear place in there where you can go to that form to fill out to request that test kit. So again, lots of information on denverwater.org/lead. So Jose, I'm going to come your way for this next question. And this one it's particularly about where we're going to be doing service line replacements next year in 2023. The question online from Russell wondering if we've determined which homes we'll replace in 2023 yet, and kind of where that stands. So maybe you could just let us know about that process and refresh us on that as well.
Yeah, and I know we say a lot of denverwater.org/lead. The same thing in Spanish, denverwater.org/plomo. We have all of this information on the website, including our current work areas. And so what we do as an organization toward the end of the year, the last quarter of the year, which we're now coming up on, we are starting to plan our work areas for 2023. So as soon as those are completed, they will be announced. You are also able to sign up for a newsletter so you can be up to date on when or what neighborhoods those are or what areas we'll be working on at. And so there's a lot of resources on our website. Like I said, we will be planning, or we are now planning for 2023, and those will be announced shortly. One way to know that is to visit our website or subscribe for a newsletter as well.
Great. Thanks, Jose. Great information. A few more questions here kind of brought about the program. So I'll come to you, Aria, for this next one. We've got a question online from Patricia. Sounds like asking if we go further back than 2020 for lead concerns. So again, just the background on the lead reduction program. We started this program in 2020. So I think the question's really getting at if we've been doing anything around this topic before 2020, maybe just some more background on the program and anything that might have been happening before then, since we know, again, this is really about older infrastructure, older homes. So Ari, I'm going to turn that one over to you.
Sure. So Denver Water has been replacing lead service lines since about 2016. Now, 2020 is the year that the lead reduction program actually officially started, and that's when we started incorporating the filter use as well as the pH adjustment in our water. So to answer the question is, does it go further back than 2020? Yes, it does. And it's something that is going to take, again, approximately about 15 years because we don't know necessarily how many service lines are made of lead in our service area. But it is something that we've been doing since 2016. It's taken care of during when the contractors go out to replace the service lines, during our water main replacements, through new development. So there's several different ways that we've been tackling this. And really, 2020 is just that year that the official program was launched. Hope that answers the question.
Great. Thanks, Aria. And I'm actually seeing one question here. I'm going to come to you, Jose, on. It's from Ken online, who sounds like they have taken one of those water test kits and the results came back maybe showing no lead or low for lead. Can you talk about if someone does one of those test kits and they are in the program, but the test kit comes back showing no lead, are they still in the program? What does that mean for that person and their property?
Trying to find the unmute button here. So yeah, there's I think Aria talked about it earlier today that there's actually several steps or several ways that the Denver Water takes to ensure that a home or residence building is no longer part of the lead reduction program. So if you went through the steps of requesting the free water quality test and the results came back as negative, and you still have some additional concerns about your home, feel free to give us a call. Talk through with our customer care team, and our crews can come out and do the potholing, I believe Aria mentioned, as well as some of the other tests that we do, the visual inspections, and there's several steps that we can take.
Perfect. Thanks, Jose. Also, just a couple more things we want to make sure, just based on some questions we're seeing come in. So we've talked a lot about, and I know Aria has mentioned a few times that certification to look for to make sure a filter removes lead. So again, that certification is NSF 53. So you look for that certification on any filter, whether that's in your fridge, a pitcher filter, something to go under your sink. That's the certification you want to look for to make sure that filter will remove lead. Because again, as we've described, not every filter removes lead, but that NSF 53 certification applies to any kind of filter that you're looking for to make sure it will remove lead. All right, I think we have time for one, maybe two more questions, but I want to take one more person that we've got on the phone with us. So Aria, will come your way for this one. And I've got Adam on the phone here with a question about how to locate a shutoff valve and at what point is the homeowner responsible for making sure their pipes aren't made of lead. So I just, Adam, have brought you live on air. And if you can hear us, please go ahead and ask us your full question.
Thank you, and thanks for hosting this meeting. My question was about, I believe you mentioned a certain amount of the pipe gets replaced up into the shutoff valve. How do we locate that in our own properties? And then just in the interest of knowing at what point am I as a homeowner responsible, or, you know, is it incumbent upon me to replace the old water lines? Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. So your water shutoff valve is typically located in either a basement or crawl space. If you have a utility room, a lot of times it's coming in there. Sometimes it can be under drywall, depending on, you know, what previous homeowners may or may not have done. But if you have an outside meter and you know where your meter pit lid is, a lot of times you can kind of walk in a straight line from there, and then your water line is entering somewhere on that wall. Again, basement and crawl space is the typical access point for that water shutoff valve. Very important to know where it is. As far as answering the question for your internal plumbing, if you have internal plumbing that is made of lead or galvanized, that is up to the property owner to make sure that is taken care of, and really important in ensuring that you don't have any additional lead in your water.
Thanks, Aria, and thanks everyone for those questions. We've just got a minute left, so we want to move to our last slide to leave everybody with resources. So again, we've mentioned several times, but denverwater.org/lead, or if you're looking for Spanish, denverwater.org/plomo will be the one-stop shop for all things lead reduction program. The recording from all of our virtual community meetings, including this one, go up on there. We have a ton of videos, and that's where you can go to that homepage and scroll down, and you'll see places to go to request the water test kit if you'd like one of those. If you need an additional filter, replacement filter, you can go to the filter page there or denverwater.org/filter to take you straight to that form. So again, a lot of resources there, and would really encourage you to dig into that and see if you're looking for some information that we might already have there. You can also go to our news site at denverwater.org/tap. This is for all things Denver Water, not just the lead reduction program, but there are some great stories on there about what we're doing with the program that you might want to check out. And then you can contact us at 303-893-2444 or email us at lead@denverwater.org if you go on the website and you still have some questions after checking out that information that you want to have answered. So again, thank you for your participation and joining us tonight. We hope everybody has a wonderful evening.